Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Amidst the ongoing standoff at the line of actual control between India and China in Eastern Ladakh, we have with us, whom I consider as one of the last words when it comes to Sino-India relations. Yes, I'm talking about Jayadeva Ranade, who is a former member of the National Security Advisory Board. He currently heads the Center for China Analysis and Strategy, a former additional secretary in the Cabinet Secretariat. He is a known security and intelligence analyst and as I said, specializes on the issue of China. Welcome to ThePrint, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, there are a lot of reports that are doing the rounds. I myself have reported on various issues that are happening there at the LAC. What do you make of this situation at the LOC? How serious is this, sir?
Well, firstly, I've read quite a few of your reports, but let me preface my remarks by saying that I'm not going into the nitty-gritty of how much who has gone in where, because I think there's a lot of confusion that has been created on this issue. One, of course, is our own government has not put out various facts for obvious reasons, and then others are trying to muddy the waters. But to your question, let me just make 2 or 3 opening points. The first is, I think it is a major and a serious issue. I say that because this development has taken place after Doklam and after the meetings between the two leaders, our Prime Minister and the President. At both the meetings, there were various comments made, various assurances given, and I think this does not meet the standards set by those assurances. Second point is that for, if I may call it, a military operation of the kind that we are seeing, regardless of whether there is any gunfire or not, the fact that the Chinese have deployed all across almost our northern border means that a number of forces have been pulled up and there has been considerable planning which has gone into this. It involves, of course, the Western Theatre Command, but at the least 3 more military sub-districts subordinate to it, which is major coordination and has to have been cleared by the Central Military Commission headed by Xi Jinping, if not initiated by Xi Jinping. So that is why I say that it's quite different from the previous standoffs, and we have to keep this in mind.
Absolutely, sir. You've made a very interesting point and very important point for that matter. Everybody is calling it that this is, the army chief in the past has said that, when the new commanders come over, there are these skirmishes that take place. However, as you rightly pointed out, this is unprecedented because the area is very vast. There are multiple locations at which there's a build-up and also transgressions. So you are saying, sir, this is not such as simple as it seems to be. This has to be sanctioned by, or at least initiated by President Xi Jinping himself, sir?
Definitely. There is little doubt that Xi Jinping has a firm grip on the PLA. I'm not suggesting that everyone in the PLA is supportive of him, because off and on we keep finding that certain generals and others have been dismissed on various grounds. So obviously there is some element of either opposition or something that Xi Jinping is dissatisfied with. But by and large, he has a grip on the PLA. Virtually all the generals who are in place now have been appointed by him in his tenure. And he is also now the commander-in-chief. Our president is the commander-in-chief, but a functional operational post of commander-in-chief he has taken. So he's hands-on. The 2 vice chairmen of the Central Military Commission are his appointees, and most of the theatre, I think almost all the theatre commanders are again his appointees. So there's no doubt that he is not only in the picture, but he was very much involved in the planning of this entire exercise. And if I could add one more comment to this, Nesh, that you're quite right. It stretches from Ladakh. And let's not forget, Nepal also has been activated, which is a diplomatic effort to supplement the military operation that we are seeing.
Absolutely, sir. You've mentioned Nepal, which is also a very important element. The army chief had made the remark, that is General Naravne had made a remark saying that the protest in Nepal is at the behest of someone else. He didn't name China per se, but that has led to a whole lot of controversy. Personally, I also feel that, what the army chief has said, while it may have crossed into the diplomatic front, but he was quite right in his observation. So, one thing that really comes to my mind, and the question that is something that I've been asking others also, is why did China, carry out this step? Why did China all of a sudden, there were, as you rightly mentioned, the Prime Minister and the President has met on 2 occasions. A series of directives were given to both the militaries. But what is the sense that you get on why did China actually do this?
There are 3 or 4 reasons for this, which I feel are relevant. The first is that the relationship itself, the China-India relationship itself, has been, if I may use the term, deteriorating or sliding over the time. There are many factors for it, some which the Chinese share and some otherwise. But if we are looking for a time period, then we need to look at April 2015, when Xi Jinping flew to Islamabad and announced the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor.
Yeah.
Since that date, the Chinese have been telling us at the official level, at the level of think tanks, at the level of track 1.5, that resume your talks with Pakistan, resolve the Kashmir issue, and then look to improve relations with China. It's been that explicit. And that has been steady. So that is one factor. But I think, coming to your point, why now? I think there are a number of things that are happening which have put Xi Jinping under tremendous pressure domestically. The first was his attempt to abolish the term limits on senior appointments in the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese state, something that Deng Xiaoping had tried to do in order to see that power is shared, that there is consensus leadership, collective leadership. He, by abolishing those term limits, in fact, annoyed the people who have in fact been that clear to say, we do not want a return to the one-man rule of Mao Zedong. They were that explicit. Let's not forget that a large number of currently serving party members and a large number of retired party members have all suffered or carry memories of the Cultural Revolution, and they don't want a return to that. The second is that he has implemented a number of measures to, of course, shore the party's position and, of course, his own. But these have included very stringent security measures and ideology, strong doses of ideology. And these have directly affected not only the people, but intellectuals, academics, and students who have protested. And the mishandling of the coronavirus at Wuhan, in fact, triggered, I think, all these resentments and brought them out into the open. And here a point worth noting is that a number of the people who criticize Xi Jinping use their social media accounts, knowing full well that they can be traced back within matters of minutes and that they will certainly be punished. Despite that risk, they did use their public social media accounts. They included party members, cadres, government officials, and others, including one Supreme Court judge, actually. So this was done. The intellectuals, of course, and academics were also explicit. There were demands for him to step down. Students objected to the restrictive atmosphere in classrooms, even down to primary schools. So all this boiled up. And I think the economic situation, its deterioration consequent to the US-China trade war and subsequently has also impacted the assurance given by him that incomes would be doubled by 2020, per capita incomes, and that the economy would take off. That hasn't happened. Obviously, it will not after what COVID has done. Poverty alleviation, though he's giving it front and center push, that's also not really going to happen, though they will doctor the figures. But that is the situation. He put him under a lot of pressure, and he's looking for something else to do. A key part in all this is that the people have begun to feel that the so-called 2 centenary goals that the leadership had promised, which is China Dream by 2021, which involves reunification of China, and by 2049, that China will have acquired global pioneering influence, which means it would rival, if not surpass, the United States. Both are slipping out of their grasp. And Xi Jinping, of course, is personally impacted by this. So we have seen since February this year, him taking a more assertive and tougher posture. We have seen that on Hong Kong, on Taiwan. In the South China Sea, he started now sending the Navy in on various forays, and now with us. I personally feel that what we are seeing here, planning for that would have started at the minimum, and I'm sure the generals would be better informed, minimum from March this year.
From March this year. So what you're essentially saying is that, contrary to the popular belief in certain circles here, saying that, Chinese have objections to certain road constructions, the larger idea behind the China's move is to send a message both internally as well as externally. Right, sir?
Correct. But of course, the road construction and all would have been factors. But I think we should not lose sight of the bigger picture, because that is crucial, especially when you're looking at major powers like China and, of course, ourselves.
Absolutely. So, this brings me to another question. Now, you would have seen that on Saturday, that is June 6th, there is a Lieutenant General level talks that are going to take place between India and China. This comes after several rounds of talks at the battalion level, at the brigade level, and at the div commander level have really failed to come out with a solution. Do you think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm told that this is one of the rare occasions where a lieutenant general rank officers would be meeting each other to solve a border dispute that has risen. Do you think that this is an indication that the situation is much more serious than what one makes out to be, and also that this could be a long drawn standoff?
A bit of everything, actually. But yes, it does indicate that the matter is serious, that the military is taking it seriously, and that they're prepared for a long drawn-out situation. But I can add, if I may add, just 2 points here. One, it's a good sign that they're meeting and talking. The second is, I hope that the fact that they're meeting at this level, after a series of preparatory meetings at lower levels, is not an indication or does not sort of hint at a desire to settle matters quickly. We should settle it, but we should settle it with the status quo ante situation so that everyone goes back to where they were, which of course leaves certain other questions unanswered. But I don't think our armed forces should be in a hurry to settle just to quieten things down. And I don't think that should be the government's position either. I don't suppose it would be either.
Okay, perfect. So one more question. Everybody is looking at China. There are tensions in the air. But you, this is a straight question. As an analyst who's observed strategy, do you think that there is any possibility of escalation furthermore?
There are 2 questions that are in my mind. The first is, if what I have said is correct, that there was planning, there was premeditation, and there has been, an activation of forces right along our northern border, which we are seeing, then the question comes, why has it been done?
Absolutely.
Expenditure of not only money, it's an expenditure of effort, planning, and pulling equipment up, wear and tear, etc. So what was the objective? Was it just to test our responses at multiple points? In which case, it would be a preparation for something else. Or was it just a message to tell us that we can do what we like at any time? And I think if it is the latter, it's a very expensive way to convey the message. So that is what I would say. That is what comes to my mind.
Okay. One more, this is the last question that I'm asking you. This now pertains to what happened in 2017, in Doklam. Now, many say that it was a success as far as India was concerned. There is no doubt about the fact that Indian army did move in and did challenge the Chinese army. They stopped the Chinese from constructing a particular road. But then there are others also who think that at the end of the day, Chinese did get away with a lot of things. For example, they were in Bhutanese territory. Now they have set up, the camps have become bigger. They are almost now controlling the Doklam plateau of Bhutan, which was traditionally Bhutanese territory. And now there is talks between both Bhutan and China to make wherever they are sitting as the working boundary. So while, yes, India did move, should we see Doklam as a success as far as Indian strategic and military interests are in mind?
Okay, I hope you don't mind if I just take a minute before I come to your question.
Absolutely.
And, point I would like to make links up with our earlier one. The first intrusion under Xi Jinping's regime was at the Demsang Plains in April 2013.
Yeah.
Li Keqiang was to come here on his first visit as premier.
Yeah.
If you recall, it took days before it was sorted out. But we stood firm at that point in time, and the Chinese realized that. And at the last minute, they withdrew so that the visit could go ahead. The second was during Xi Jinping's visit here, when there was a standoff at Chumar.
Yeah.
That fact was unusual because it started before he came, continued through his visit, and continued even after his visit.
Exactly.
It required a lot of effort before that was resolved. Then we see Doklam. Now, these two should have conveyed to the Chinese a message that India is not about to yield the ground.
Yeah.
The second, whatever they may be thinking, but it was not. The second was Doklam, where again for 73 days we did not yield ground. Secondly, we moved within a matter of hours to block the Chinese.
Absolutely.
So it put a political will and a military will.
Absolutely.
To block them. The fact that there was a disengagement is a good thing, but from what I know, the Chinese have remained where they were. They have strengthened their defenses where they were. They have not added any more. We have remained where we were, but we have blocked their road construction, blocked them from moving further ahead.
Yeah.
When the disengagement was announced, there was a backlash in China against Xi Jinping, even from people who are normally his supporters.
Yeah.
Commentators like Hirchishan, etc., of the Global Times and others, who asked, what happened? You were building up a strong army, etc. There was a rumor flying around in Beijing at that time, it started in Beijing, that they had paid India 20 billion yuan in order to agree to a disengagement.
Okay.
You imagine. Now, in India, of course, we all hear rumors and maybe many people spread rumors. But in China, that's not the case.
Yeah,
now,
correct.
Gained such currency that the People's Daily, which is the party paper, issued a denial. The Chinese Ministry of National Defense issued a denial. And the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a denial. The day after the disengagement. So what I'm trying to say is that whatever nationalism, ideology, etc., Xi Jinping has been pumping into the country since the time he took over in 2012, that does have an effect, and people were questioning it.
Okay.
So keep this at the back of your mind when we look at what is happening here today, that this is a factor which is going to play out. And in Doklam, I think what happened to the Chinese was they got the message loud and clear that despite it being on Bhutanese territory, India did not hesitate to come there. Now the talks between the Chinese and the Bhutanese, those have been going on even before Doklam. Those continue even now. But at the time of Doklam, in fact, when Doklam was still going on, the Chinese did two things. They offered a swap to the Bhutanese.
Yeah.
They said, give you some territory, I think it was around Paksum Long and all, and you give us some territory here. That was one. Didn't go through. The second was they put out a false story saying that the Bhutanese are unhappy that India has taken that action and they're not supportive of it.
Yeah.
Which was also incorrect. So China, of course, is trying to get into Bhutan. They're trying various methods. So that is the situation. I don't think the Chinese, in my estimation at least, that they've gained ground. But I would also suggest that possibly what happened at Doklam still rankles certain sections, and especially in the PLA.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to the print. I have learned a lot from this conversation, and I'm sure the viewers have also, have now got a better understanding about, why this particular issue is happening at the LAC and what are the, various sides of this confrontation. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to the print, sir.
Thank you for very good questions, Steve.